right, hello, wine-drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday. And, Monday night is usually taco night with the kids, so not a lot of people get me out to drink on Monday night. But, the wines of Vega Sicilia, I'm out on Monday night. Sorry, kids, about the tacos. But anyways, this is a winery that we do an event with. Well, anytime Puri is in town, our good friend, the export director for this famous property in Ribera del Duero, founded over 100 years ago, and actually they're celebrating their 100th year anniversary with two of their wines, the Valbuena and the Unico, which, to me, if you're doing a Vega tasting and you don't serve these wines, it's not really a Vega tasting. But this is a winery that also, since 1982 has been owned by the Alvarez family, and, they're very progressive thinking. They own a lot of companies around the world, and wine is just one of the things that they do. But they also have invested in wineries in other countries. They started in Hungary in 1993 outside of Spain, and this is a project called Oremus, and Tokaji is one of these, a very depressed area. Vineyard land there is very cheap, probably one of the reasons they invested here, and they make one of the world's greatest dessert wines, one of the longest lived, and one of the most famous, so probably the cheapest place you could get, great terroir to make a world-class wine that they could promote with these other world-class wines from Spain. Anyways, we tried the dry wine first to start the evening, and this is 100% Tokaji, the native varietal, fresh apple and tangerine citrus fruit on the nose, kind of fresh herbs here a little bit too, and some minerality, a light flinty note also shown here. Really fresh and bright on the tongue. This wine had a really nice citrusy quality to it, but also some apples and pears and kind of a light honey character as well to this, and a little tangerine. Really nice complexity to this wine, but very fresh and light and simple, but really good little wine and very unique. If you're want to stump somebody at your next brown bag, bring them Furmint, a white wine from Hungary. All right, well, the Bodegas Pintia was up next, and these guys are actually the first people to invest in Toro. Numancia, kind of the most famous winery here. They started in 1998, but these Alvarez family moved in a few years before that, actually in 1996, I believe, but they didn't make their wines available commercially for 5 years. I think 2001 was the very first vintage of Pintia, and this wine is a little beast, and you need to tame the beast in the Toro. So these guys wanted to watch and see what would happen the first 5 years. We're not going to release anything under the Vega Sicilia, umbrella that is not absolutely outstanding. So 96 hectares here now, and they've got a joint the newest thing from them is a joint venture with Benjamin Rothschild in Rioja Alta. Be really excited to see these wines when they come out next year. All right, and this wine, the first wine of the night, needed a little time to open up, as this wine always does. I open these wines up at about 5 o'clock to canner them. A really intense bouquet, kind of roasted coffee, dark cherry and plum fruit here. A little sun-dried character to the fruit. You get that real intensity of fruit in Toro, and a little mocha, fresh earth, a really unique, distinct minerality from this area. Also the largest of all the Tempranillo-based wines coming from Toro, and this wine, in terms of size, I think it needs a little bit of time. The 05, it was nice to see a wine that's a little bit more evolved. Thank you, Mark Diamond, for bringing this. And we have a few bottles of this actually available, showing some nice evolution here, nice freshness. Still, though, at the end, some dark cherry fruit and that little bit of animal in there, and that dark spice and earth. This one you could keep another 10 years in your cellar, though, as well. And then on to the Alion. This one, they started in 1991, and they still buy about 20% of the fruit for this. But, they're buying up land and vineyards, and about 80% of it now is all estate bottled. And this wine is 100% Tinto Fino, like the wine from Toro. They don't blend it like the Vega Sicilia wines, but this wine's got a really lovely, intense, wild strawberry, jammy-like fruit, this 08, and a lovely freshness to this wine. And drinking really nice right now for really young Tempranillos. Some dried meat, dark cherry liqueur, kind of soy and animal notes. Really beautiful bottle of 100% Tempranillo. This Alion, a separate wine from Vega Sicilia, very different, I think, stylistically, and but equally as good and, less expensive. All right, the Vega Sicilia 07 Valbuena. I think this was a lot of people's favorites, and maybe the 07 vintage is a little bit more forward, showing a lot of dark cherry, raspberry, almost like fruit, and some earth notes coming out of the bouquet also, but really fruity, and some cedar and mocha, some sage. But the fruit in this wine kind of came out more in the nose and on the palate than all the other wines. 85% Tempranillo, 15% Merlot, and a touch of Malbec. That's a difference between the blends other than the aging on the Vega, Valbuena, and the Unico. But like I said, several people picked that wine. It's the wine of the night. The Unico 2000. current release of this wine. They keep this wine back 10 years, a minimum, before release. An array of Bordeaux-like aromas coming out of the nose here. Coffee, cigar box, tobacco spice, black and red currant and cassis berry fruits. This wine is 80% Tempranillo, 20% Cabernet Sauvignon, which is kind of a typical blend from them. And this wine's not produced every year. They didn't make it in 2001. They didn't make it in 1990, 92, 93, 97. So, you know, this is a special wine, a very unique wine, and a wine, well, you can keep for a really long time. We had the 94, and it was still a baby at our vintage Spanish tasting. All right, next up, the late harvest wine. And Tony, an incredible job. Well, she wasn't here, but she did an incredible job with the flan. I should say John. John did make the flan with the orange zest in it. Just went perfectly with these Tokais. And we had the Furmint late harvest. They have about 60% botrytis in this wine, 40% shriveled. That's the blend, the difference between the Tokai Aszu and that. And it's 100% botrytis in the Aszu. And this wine's also a blend, as I didn't know before that most Tokais are a blend. It's got Hash Lavu, Zeta, Muscat, well, yellow Muscat, a different type of Muscat. This wine had a lovely aroma, though. Peaches, apricots, honey on the nose, and honeysuckle fruit. This was Puri's first job. She started this winery for them, Oremus, so she still goes back here once a year, a very special place for her. You know, these wines just incredible. You know, even though the Tokai Furmint late harvest, incredible value. Doesn't stand a candle to the Aszu. 5 Puttonyos. Like I said, one of the greatest dessert wines in the world. You really notice the intensity in this wine. About twice the amount of sugar as Sauternes, but twice the amount of acidity. The finish on these wines just incredibly long. Well, these Puttonyos are these ancient sacs, and they pick the berries, the botryticized berries, berry by berry. So it's 100% botryticized fruit. And this sac, which is a 25 kilo sac, well, the amount of sacs or the Puttonyos go in there, and it's added to 136 liters of must. So you can imagine, you know, this 5, 25, 50, 75, 125, which is what we had in this 5 Puttonyos. A lot of intensity, a lot of sweetness, a lot of apricots, a lot of honey, a lot of honeysuckle, and some wonderful minerality coming through on the finish in this wine. Like I said, just elevated by the tart we served. And that's what we had at our Vega Sicilia tasting on Monday night. This week, I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying, remember, always drink the good stuff first.